If you've watched my videos for long enough, it's probably apparent how much of a Final Fantasy fan I am. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that I am eagerly awaiting the release of Final Fantasy XVI, a game which I have to admit has had me going back and forth since its announcement, wondering if it will be the step forward the franchise needs. Will it be a return to form or another controversial game within the fan base? Honestly, from the first look we had for the game, I wasn't overly confident about it. As time has gone on though, I have come to believe that this game is going to be something special. I really hope it succeeds in the areas where Final Fantasy XV failed. More than that, for the first time in a while, it feels like it might just be the next big Final Fantasy game everyone talks about for years to come. But with hype and anticipation comes expectation, even if you're someone like me who doesn't like to let the excitement get the better of him. I think one can find themselves getting easily caught up in the whole hype train aspect of 16 at this point. The game simply looks incredible from everything they've shown. As much as I've tried to temper my expectations going in, it's become impossible to not at the very least set some expectations for what I hope the game will be. So when I suggest that Final Fantasy XVI could be a Game of the Year contender, it's largely because I really believe in the potential for this game. There have been many Final Fantasy titles which have looked great in marketing, but failed to deliver in a pretty big way. Looking back, Final Fantasy XIII is a game that to me looked awesome in the marketing and trailers, but was met with much more mixed responses by the greater fan base. Although I personally came to appreciate the game and even love certain aspects of 13, it definitely had its issues. But to be fair, I've always enjoyed stories with a darker edge to them. Not only that, but I find many of my personal favorite stories or narratives have a grandiose, almost mythological weight to them. Look no further in the Final Fantasy franchise than Type 0, a game which is much darker than several of the other franchise entries. Even aspects of 15 are quite dark, and it's actually those darker elements which I prefer over many of the game's other sections. So simply put, I really like when the games venture into darker territory, and Final Fantasy XVI looks like a really mature game with a dark aura around its story, characters, and world. The almost brooding nature of its marketing has really caught my attention. More than that, the icons look like they're going to add a lot of really dynamic action and weight to the narrative. Again, from that mythological sense. As much as Final Fantasy XVI leans heavily into the older medieval fantasy, perhaps even something akin to Arthurian legend, I can't help but see glimpses and notions of a Greek epic within the visage of Final Fantasy XVI. This is in large part due to its much more concentrated focus on summons than some traditional Final Fantasy games have done in the past. Already, the game's atmosphere, story, characters, and setting are pulling me in and immersing me into this world, and I haven't even got a chance to play it yet. I simply can't wait to get my hands on it. Let's not forget how incredibly unique the action looks in this game. Obviously, when you bring a person over to work on a game whose prior experience was working on Devil May Cry, you can probably expect the action to be similar to what he's done in the past. However, even I wasn't expecting them to ratchet up the energy of the battles and action to this degree. The frenetic combat we've seen thus far has really challenged me to approach this fighting system with an open-minded perspective. While I understand that for many people, the turn-based combat system, which many RPGs are known for, will always be their first love with a Final Fantasy title. I do hope we see people really try to give this combat system a fair shot. Yes, it might be more modern in design, but that doesn't mean the game's spirit won't be rooted in what made Final Fantasy special in the past. Final Fantasy XVI has continued to impress me with each showing. So much of this game feels like a breath of fresh air from a lot of the stuff we see on the market today. And I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention that this game has a very talented team of developers behind it. Naoki Yoshida is a very smart team leader. This man helmed one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of video games, with Final Fantasy XIV Online. With him producing and supporting the team working on this game, it has a better shot than most games do to succeed right out of the gate. Like the title of that X-Files movie says, I want to believe. I want to believe this game will be the game which restores the status of Final Fantasy as a franchise, something which has suffered a reputation slide over the years. I want to hope that what looks to be a very special entry in the franchise will also be a very special moment in gaming. I know we're all tired of hearing people say this, but let's be honest, since Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X, the franchise has never quite hit those heights of success or acclaim. I'm not suggesting this game has to be better than those games to be relevant, but I must admit my excitement to see this game succeed and reach that level has never been stronger. Could this game be the one to finally reach those lofty high points? More than that, could this game actually end up being a potential Game of the Year contender? To me, it certainly looks like it might, given what we've seen or heard thus far. With that, we've come to the end of the video. Why don't you guys let me know what you all think in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, clicking that like button, and hitting that little bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos as soon as they drop. Thank you so much, and have yourself a great day.